fellow booktubers, my name is Lauren, you're watching Dreams Books Courage, and today we are going to be doing a tag, this one being the A to Z Bookish Survey. I was tagged by Loving Them Books, and this tag was made by Perpetual Page Turner, so I'll be leaving a link to both of them down below. In this tag, we're going to be going over bookish things from A to Z, so let's go ahead and get started. The first letter, of course, is A, and it stands for authors you've read the most books from, and for that, I'm going to have to go with Lacey Harrison, who wrote the Click series and also the Alpha series, both series of which I've completely loved. I've read a total of 24 books from Lacey Harrison, so obviously I have lots of love for this author. She writes mostly middle grade books, and so it definitely got me through those awkward junior high years. B stands for Best Sequel Ever, and for that I have Where She Went by Gail Forman. If I Stay was an awesome book, but I felt like this one was even better. Although it might have been more heartbreaking for me, I really enjoyed the story and just Adam and Mia, of course. I love how they just went for their dreams the entire time and how they just really care for each other, but they also really care for their passions, and I just really enjoyed reading this even more than If I Stay. For C, we have Currently Reading, and for that I'm reading 4 different books right now, and they are The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan, which I'm just reading for fun, and then I have The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain, which I'm reading for my English class. I'm also reading the audiobook of Outlander with my mom, and then with my English class I am reading Hamlet by William Shakespeare. D stands for drink of choice while reading, and for that I have quite a few things. I'm usually drinking something while I'm reading a book, and those things include like Starbucks coffee, regular coffee, water, tea, just pretty much anything. I'm just usually drinking something while I'm reading. It doesn't really matter what. Since it's getting colder, I'm usually drinking hot tea or coffee or something along the lines of that currently. Next up we have e-reader or physical book, and for this it's obviously physical book. I don't even know why this is a question, because who likes an e-reader over a physical book with pages that you can smell, and books just smell so good, and just all of the aesthetics come with an actual book, and you don't really have that whenever you're reading on an e-reader. Although sometimes I do tend to read on my phone, on iBooks, and that's fine of course, and in some situations it's easier for me to do that, so then I can carry around a few books without actually carrying anything if I'm in a tight situation, if I'm traveling a lot, things like that, but most of the time I just prefer a physical book. Next up we have physical character you probably would have actually dated in high school, and for that I could choose pretty much any main male protagonist from John Green's books, but I'm gonna go with Q from Paper Towns by John Green. Quentin is just very awkward, and he's very loving whenever he gets the chance to be, and I just think he's a really awesome character. He has a good heart and he's awkward, and those are the kind of boys I date, so I would definitely be going with Q. And for G we have Glad You Gave This Book a Chance, and for that I have Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. This was an awesome book. I love the ongoing series of it, and I'm just really happy I picked up this book whenever I did. It's high fantasy. I don't usually like stories like that, but I absolutely devoured this one. I love all of the characters in it, and I would probably read anything by Sarah J Maas. She just creates such complex characters and amazing plots. I just can't wait until I can delve into the next Sarah J Maas book. For Hidden Gem book, we have The Geography of You and Me by Jennifer E. Smith. I haven't really heard very many people talk about this book on BookTube, but it's just a really sweet contemporary. And for all of you contemporary lovers out there, I would definitely recommend this book. It also has a road trip aspect and traveling, and it's just really cool how the story is laid out. It's just a very interesting and adorable read. Next up we have Important Moment in Your Reading Life, and I'd say a hugely important part of my reading life was joining BookTube and just being part of this awesome community, and I just love it so much. It definitely makes me want to read even more books than I already do, and it just makes me appreciate the books that I read more, and maybe I can help other people find new books along the way. It's just important to me because I made new friends on BookTube, and because I just love how positive this community is and how we really get more teenagers and more young adults to be reading these YA books. The book I just finished is Diary of a Wimpy Kid: The Long Haul by Jeff Kinney, and I'm definitely not a snob whenever it comes to Jeff Kinney's books. I love all of them. This is actually the 9th one, and I own all of them because they are so hilarious, and this one seemed especially hilarious to me. So if you kind of got off of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid bandwagon earlier on in the series, I would definitely pick this one up at least, because I just thought it was hilarious and I could not stop cracking up. You can read these books in about 2 hours and they're just hilarious reads. Next up we have kind of books you won't read, and I try to read absolutely anything. I'm really not against reading anything, but fantasy books kind of scare me, especially if they're as big as a Game of Thrones is. Like, those kind of books scare me just because of how long they really are. But it's not like I completely shun them or anything. I still love those books too, it's just I know it's going to take me longer to read it, so I'll try to stay away from those books. But genre-wise, I will read pretty much anything. For the longest book I've read, I have Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix by J.K. Rowling with 870 pages. My most major book hangover that I've ever had comes courtesy of Veronica Roth and Allegiant, and I will not give you spoilers or anything, but just the feels and the heartbreak and just so much in this novel. For number of bookcases I own, it is 2. I have this one, and these are all of my read books, and then I have another one that's shorter and smaller, and it is my TBR shelf. For the book that I've read multiple times, I'm going to go with The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, but I've only read this book twice. The maximum amount that I've ever read a book is probably only twice, because I'm not really into the business of reading a book twice unless I really, really love it, and this is my favorite book ever, so of course I've read this book multiple times. My preferred place to read is either on my bed or in my reading chair. Either way, I like to feel really comfy whenever I'm reading. And I don't really like reading in public or anything, but I definitely like reading in my own home and just being comfy while reading. For a quote that inspires you / gives you all the feels from reading it, I have a quote from John Green, of course, but it is actually from Paper Towns, not The Fault in Our Stars. And it is very simple, and it's just forever is composed of nows. And so it's just kind of an awesome way to say, live your life in the now. You don't need to think ahead of a million scenarios, but just live what you are doing right now. And I just really love that quote. And I just love how simple that quote is. For my reading regret, I actually regret not having read the entire Twilight series whenever I was first reading it. Like, I got through the first 3 books, and then whenever I got to Breaking Dawn, after the first third of Breaking Dawn, I just could not get into it whatsoever, and I just wish I'd finished it whenever I did, because now it has to stay on my TBR shelf until I find the time to read it. And it's a pretty big book, and I don't really remember anything in detail about the Twilight Saga, so it would definitely be harder now to go back into that series. And that's one of the few series that I have not completed. I usually complete my series. And that actually goes right along with the next question, which is series you started and need to finish. Of course, that is also Breaking Dawn. It's my regret, and it's a series that I have not yet finished that I really wish I did at the time, but I really need to now. For my 3 all-time favorite reads, I'm just gonna have to go with 2 series and 1 standalone because it's just so hard to choose from, but these books have all changed my reading life. The first one we have is The Wizarding World of Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling. Then we have The Hunger Games trilogy by Suzanne Collins. And finally we have The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. This one's my favorite book of all time, and these 2 are amazing as well, so I really, really love these books. And for the books that I am an unapologetic fangirl for, I have pretty much this entire top shelf that I am a complete fangirl for. We have Harry Potter, the Throne of Glass series, the Divergent trilogy, Percy Jackson, and all of the Shadowhunter books. I just love all of them so much, and I am always a completely unapologetic fangirl because I don't think I need to apologize for things that I'm passionate about. Next up, we have very excited for this release more than all the others, and for that I actually had 2 books because I could not narrow it down to just one. The first one being about Kira Cass's new novel, which is going to be The Heir, and it's going to be a series or a trilogy or something like that, and I really enjoyed the Selections trilogy, so I'm really excited for those books as well. And then of course we have the next installation of the Throne of Glass series, which will be out in fall of 2015, so it's just such a long time from now, but I'm really excited, and I just wish it would be in my hands right now. For my worst bookish habit, I would say that it's taking forever to finish a series. Like, when I'm on the final book, I take quite a long time finishing it because I just don't want that story to end. It just makes me a little bit sad inside, and so I definitely take longer than I should for reading that book because I just don't want the series or trilogy to end. Next up, we have X Marks the Spot. Start at the top of your bookshelf and pick the 27th book, and for that I have Looking for Alaska by John Green, which is just a completely amazing book. I really, really enjoyed reading this one. It's definitely up there with The Fault in Our Stars. It's just a really amazing read, and I'd recommend any of you who like John Green whatsoever to pick this book up. For why, we have your latest book purchase, and for that I have The Long Haul by Jeff Kinney. I just couldn't resist picking this book up, and I'm so glad I did because of how hilarious it is. For the Z Snatcher book, we have The Last Book That Kept You Up Way Late, and for that one I have Isla and the Happily Ever After by Stephanie Perkins. I can usually control whenever I go to sleep and just set a book down even if it's against my will, but this book is so amazing and I just loved every moment of it, and at some points I just could not put this book down. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm going to be tagging Wizarding World of Books if you have not already done this. If you guys do this tag, I would also love to see all of you be doing it, and just link it down below so that I can go watch yours as well. I'm gonna go get back to reading.